All right, we're live. Welcome back, guys, to the AJ Show. This is episode 12, and we come to you after a long weekend where we're still kind of trying to come back from that. A lot of recharging that needed to go on. We really did our best to put on the best product for you guys, and really appreciate all the views, the comments, the engagement, the following, the subscribing. I mean, it was really awesome to have that. It was a truly unique experience because it's the third time I've done an NFL draft show. Finally got to do it with my cousin and, of course, Alexis. We did 3 years in a row, but this time wasn't Zoom, wasn't in my parents' basement. It was in a nice studio. So just a lot of fun. But I'm excited to chop it up with you, man, because we have a lot of takes, obviously, with the draft, like anybody. And I think I want to start off right off the bat with the guy that the Steelers got, because I find it so interesting to me. They went out and they got Naji Harris, which everybody expected, but I saw your video on your channel, Adam Steele, and I've been hearing everybody, commenting on it. Naji Harris was my number one running back on my board, and I look at him as like he was, I'd say, a mid-first to late first in this draft. What does that equate to? A Todd Gurley, a Melvin Gordon? I think he's right along that tier, and I feel like this was honestly the Steelers saying, you know what, we know we need offensive line help, and we'll do that, and they did that. But the thing that I liked about this is I feel like they realized we need a guy like Le'Veon Bell again, because clearly this is a team that won 11 games last year in a row, and this is a team to me that should have been competing for the Lombardi. And they had injuries, but the injuries would have been negated had they been able to run the ball, establish that run, and not had their quarterback had to carry them on their back. So I want to get your thoughts on the pick. Obviously, I think you're a fan, but I want to hear your full explanation.
Yeah, man. I'm very excited about it, to be honest. Obviously, all leading up to the draft, I was very much so like on the offensive line hype train because I do think that's still something they need to address. I like Kendrick Green that they got in the third. I do think he can become a starting center, but I still think those two tackle spots are a big question mark. But it is what it is. I mean, to rebuild an offensive line in one draft, you would have had to be very aggressive. I'm talking like first and second round picks. And when you look at who was there, I mean, Naji Harris, you can argue the Steelers' biggest need was running back and offensive line, right? It's those top two. At that point in the draft, to fill one of your biggest needs with the still best player at his position with Naji Harris, who I think was the best running back in this class, I mean, that's hard to pass up. And I've been watching tape on him ever since they drafted him, like, extensively. And he does everything. He's very much like Le'Veon Bell, but I think he has the potential to be better than that. One, injury history is like non-existent with him. He's very, very durable, which you love to see. He can do it all. He's a 3-down back through and through. I think he's a better pass catcher than Le'Veon Bell was, even though Le'Veon Bell, remember when he was in the league, was like touted as like this amazing route running back.
Oh, absolutely.
But Naji Harris, man, I think he could be better. I think he has better body control, like really impressive catches on tape. And then as a running back, I mean, he's phenomenal. You don't even have to question that, or there's not much more to say. And I think he's faster than Le'Veon Bell. Like Le'Veon Bell ran a 4.6 something. If he ran the 40, I think Naji Harris is probably like a 4.51, 4.52, somewhere in there. So he's got the speed to break away from some people if he gets the distance on them. He's not going to be caught up to like a Le'Veon Bell was. So I think he's going to be great. It's just really a matter of how long is he going to last, because he's a running back and he's 23. So that's the only part that stinks about it, but he's going to be an instant contributor for us. He's going to make our red zone offense better right off the bat. He finishes drives. He can catch it in the red zone, high pointing the football, and his catching is like a wide receiver. So I love him. I'm excited. I'm happy about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm really happy for
Yeah.
you. And then, the second round, you go out, you get my number 2 tight end in the draft consensus, I think, by a lot of people, Pat Freiermuth, who to me is very similar to, a former tight end, Heath Miller, who was there. But he's going to add a little bit more athleticism, I would say. And I think because of that, that's why they liked him. You're getting a combination of everything that they've had over the years for Big Ben. You're getting Virgil Green. You're getting, the guy they have right now, Eric Ebron, and you're getting Heath Miller and even Jesse James, because I think he can block. I know there's people that saying that he can't. He can. He can be a full-on, all-around center or tight end. I was going to get into center after that. But you mentioned Kendrick Green. Kendrick Green, to me, perfect fit. That's a guy I wanted the Rams to grab. I think, to me, everyone was talking about Quinn Miners. I kept coming on here and saying, Kendrick Green, that's my guy. Yes,
okay.
Repeatedly. Yeah. So that's one of my favorite picks in the entire draft. He made my top 30. And so did another pick that you got later on in Quincy Roche, who to me,
I'm excited about him too.
He might, and this is weird saying this, he might be more ready to contribute than Alex Highsmith. Alex Highsmith was a little more raw.
Definitely.
And Quincy Roche is a guy that had serious production at Temple and then went to Miami, the bright lights of Miami. You know how that is.
And he played.
And he played very well.
He's like a technician to me, man. I really just – those are the types of guys that you can see starting – or not starting, but playing and contributing, because he doesn't have to grow a lot. He gets it. He knows what he has to do. He might not be explosive or like make highlight reel plays every down, but when you're the third rotational outside linebacker, he's perfect for that. So I'm excited about that because we definitely needed depth, at outside linebacker for sure.
Oh, I agree with you.
Yeah.
And, I think they did a nice job of plugging up some holes that they had. Another team that I thought did a stellar job in this draft, absolutely stellar, might have been my favorite draft, was the Detroit Lions. They come in, they get Brad Holmes from the Rams, rookie general manager. I can't stress it enough. Brad Holmes had a tough decision to make because at pick 7, you're sitting there. Justin Fields is there. You have Devontae Smith, and it's hard because you can go out and get a star, receiver threat for Jared Goff, which some people would claim they don't have actively on the roster. You can go out and you can get Justin Fields, maybe trade Jared Goff, because Fields was never supposed to fall that far. Yeah. And then you stick and you go with Penei Sewell. And to me, that really showed maturity, and a guy that has proven, even though he's a rookie GM, he's been in that organization of the Rams since 2003.
Yeah.
He worked his way up. He did the dirty work, and then eventually he was in that draft room. He's the one that pounded the table for Goff, for the Rams to get him. He's been behind a lot of their big-time picks, and, he had people wondering if he was the mastermind all along in that Rams war room.
Yeah, man. I do like what the Lions did, and I think it's cool that they're supporting Jared Goff. They made that trade. They did what they did to get some picks. And, listen, you can say what you want about Goff, but he's had success. If you support him, he can do some things. He can win you some football games. So I don't know exactly what their plan is, if they're going to, really ride him out, and, he's our franchise guy. We're going to build around him. But when Penei Sewell is right there, whether you keep Goff this year or you're drafting a quarterback next year, that's going to pay you in dividends either way. So,
absolutely. Yeah. And then they didn't stop there. In the second round, they go out and they get Levi Onwuzurike, who, in my opinion, was the best defensive tackle in this draft. I know a lot of people like Barmore. Barmore goes in the first round. Barmore, to me, I believe he went in the second round anyway. Barmore, to me, is more of a guy that's going to help you in the run game. But I think with Levi Onwuzurike, he is somebody that can be a legit pass rushing threat from the interior. When you have guys like you added Michael Brockers in free agency, well, you traded for him from the Rams, and then you have Trey Flowers. That was a marquee signing. You still have him. Even though he came over because of Matt Patricia, he's still there. He can still contribute. There's a reason he got paid. Also, they bring back Aquara. That was a huge move in my mind. So they have a lot of talent there. You add in Onwuzurike, I think he's going to fit right in. A guy that does really well at getting skinny, using leverage, and really contorting his body to get through the middle of that offensive line. And he's going to be a problem. And by the way, Michael Brockers is going to be a problem. He's a leader in that room. And
Yeah, man.
I think he, just looking at what he did, I think you have to say that their GM knew what he was doing. They have a plan in place. And then, of course, they go out and they get Amon-Ra St. Brown. They go out and they get Afadu Melifonwu, a guy that I absolutely loved in this draft. And you have Aubrey Pleasant, who you got from the Rams, who's been a killer cornerbacks coach. He's their secondary coach. So now you're bringing in Afadu Melifonwu at 6'2", great size, great length, and overall great athleticism to go with Okudah. And you have a guy like Aubrey Pleasant coaching him. I feel really good about this draft moving forward. They also got a Liam McNeil for that interior in the 3rd round. They really knocked it out of the park.
Yeah, the Lions are on a good path right now. I think that's like the best way to summarize it. There's a plan there. You can feel it. So they're heading in the right direction, which is good for them. They need that. But how about, you just mentioned Justin Fields. What do you think, man, of him going to the Bears? Like, they got such a steal, bro. I was just watching tape on him again after the draft, and I was like,
told you,
this
man.
guy is probably the best deep ball thrower that was in the class.
So good.
It's just
he manipulates with his eyes
dimes
so
after
well.
Dimes, and just like not just like really accurate balls, but also placing them in the right spots on the deep ball.
Not general accuracy, pinpoint accuracy. Yeah. That's a key.
And I just like, I really appreciated going back and watching tape on him. I was like, he's going to be good.
I was telling you, I'm like, this guy is I don't know how it happened overnight, but he literally went from being arguably up there to make a run at Trevor Lawrence at one point during the season.
Yeah.
To then people wanted to put him outside the top 4.
Yeah, well, I'm trying to think. So it was Trevor Lawrence, Trey Lance.
Not a lot of people, but
Zach
you had
Wilson.
the Mac Jones stands that were like,
yeah.
and like I said, I always say, I like Alabama. I'll tell you, Mac Jones, appreciate him. Mac Jones isn't like the other 4. He may be able to contribute immediately in a way because of just the scheme that he's coming from and the talent he played with. So he played with NFL talent. He knows tendencies, things along that nature. But Justin Fields has an astronomically high ceiling.
Oh, yeah.
So does Trey Lance. So does Trevor Lawrence. And so does Zach Wilson.
Yeah, dude, I was watching Naji Harris tape, and I would naturally see Mac Jones, and I was like, okay, that's the guy. I was like, if that was my quarterback, I would not be that excited.
I don't know. We've seen guys like that before. I mean, what's to stop? Because here's the thing. Not all of the top 5 guys are going to pan out. And I had Davis Mills at 5.
Honestly,
so he's my 6th.
Yeah, most of the time, I mean, the odds are like 2 out of 5.
Yeah.
2 of them are going to succeed. The rest are going to either be bust because they just don't translate or like injuries, right? So, yeah, I mean, I would say if I'm a betting man, 2 of the top 5 pan out. Though I like 4 of them. So, but it's like,
yeah, I mean, I think it's really easy for me to say. I think 3 out of the 4 will pan out. I think it's going to be Fields. I think it's going to be Lawrence, and I think it's going to be Lance. I think Wilson will end up like an Alex Smith, who plays and starts in this league. But I don't know if he's going to be a guy that reaches his potential, what I feel like he could be. Because I don't get that vibe out of him. I don't know what it is. And going to New York as a rookie, it's a big step.
Yeah, it is.
Going from BYU to New York is a huge, huge difference.
But I will say he kind of balled out on BYU, man. Like I thought he had an attitude. I thought he had like that rock star kind of vibe.
Well, that's kind of the vibe I got from Darnold. And then he went to New York, and it was like, it's just a different. The New York media is just a different breed.
Oh, yeah.
It's why when people say, like, with the New York Yankees, how they have 27 world championships, and it's like this incredible organization, you have baseball players that literally on their no-trade clause, they will leave the Yankees off because they know they can't play there.
It's a tough media environment for sure.
Yeah, the media is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't be surprised if he's the one that doesn't pan out. But as far as the best fit, I don't think there's a better fit in the entire draft. Well, you could argue him, but Asante Samuel Jr.
Oh, you're talking all
going
players.
to the Chargers was the best fit, I think, in the entire draft. He does everything you want him to do. Keep in mind,
their secondary is stupid.
Brandon Staley kind of did something with the Rams where he kind of made defense the new offense. If you notice, his offenses over the years have gone more and there's a reason for this. They've gone more simple, and they've made things really easy and more vanilla, dare I say it, like college. And the reason for that is you have a guy like, let's just say McDaniels. McDaniels had a really complicated offense. I would argue that when you look at the Patriots and their wide receivers, when they drafted guys like Josh Boyce and Aaron Dobson and Malcolm Mitchell, even though they had Tom Brady throwing to them, who people would argue is the greatest of all time, they still busted. And why was that? I think a lot of that had to do with the scheme. You want to have a simpler offense where if a guy gets hurt, another guy can pick it up and instantly just fit right in there. But with the defense, I feel like defense is becoming the new offense. And the reason I say that is because now the defenses are getting all crazy with the schemes and the disguising. Oh, yeah. And you need a guy that can basically turn on a dime and change his, lane of direction and really throw off quarterbacks. And when you watch the film, Asante Samuel Jr. has that.
Yeah.
And you're adding that to Chris Harris Jr. You're adding that to unsung hero Michael Davis, who they brought back. You're adding that to Nasir Adderley, a guy we loved in the draft.
Adderley.
And Derwin James.
Derwin James and Asante Samuel, those three together, that's tough.
Like that.
That's tough.
That's to me why I envision them making the Super Bowl. Because I just feel better. I feel like Brandon Staley has something that the rest of the league doesn't have. And the Rams, they know about this, and they're going to try to keep the same things in place, but it's a lot different when he's already out of the building.
Yeah. No, dude, I agree. The Chargers are looking great. They didn't have a misstep at all, really, this offseason.
Is there another fit, would you say, that was like
for
that
Asante
good?
Samuel?
No.
In general?
In general, yeah.
Well, I think two that come to my mind are obviously Naji Harris, because the Steelers were so desperate and needed an immediate all-down running back. Yeah. And he slides right in and does that. And then Trey Lance with the 49ers. Yeah. I mean, that's a phenomenal fit too.
Well, and the thing I find funny is now I'm hearing, do you think he plays like week 6? I'm like, no, I think he's better than Garoppolo. Look, hear me out when I say this. The only reason people are acting like Trey Lance is this project and he needs time is because, one, he only played one game last year. And two, because we haven't gotten over the fact that Carson Wentz proved the FCS isn't a huge step down. He played at the Alabama of the FCS. They're still Division I.
And he also dominated.
Exactly.
That's a huge sign.
But this is also somebody that called his own plays at the line of scrimmage. He called his own protections. He did his own things there. Like, he wasn't a clapper, as people would say. He's not sitting there in the shotgun, clapping all game long, looking over at the sidelines. No, this guy's actually operating the offense. And how many first round, second round, third round, even fourth round talents are on that offense? You have one, and that is Dylan Ray-Dunes. Aside from Dylan Ray-Dunes, who did Trey Lance have? Who was he throwing to?
No one.
People will look and be like, wow, his deep ball really isn't that good. What do you mean? His deep ball accuracy is good. If you look at the receiver, he's not running the route correctly. When he's throwing you towards the sideline, towards the pylon, that's your job, right? The receiver would get his head turned around the wrong way or something along those lines. I watched it numerous times. That's what happens when you're throwing to guys that aren't going to be NFL products.
Yeah, I think you're gonna do what you always do. Like, you're gonna start with Garoppolo, and then he's gonna have a bad game, or in Garoppolo fashion, get injured, and then Trey Lance is gonna come in and steal the job. It's gonna happen sooner than later.
I think he starts by week 3. And I wouldn't be surprised if he starts day 1, because
I would just start him day 1. I wouldn't even mess around.
You know how I feel about waiting. I'm not a big fan of it. I understood Jared Goff because when the Rams benched Jared Goff for Case Keenum, it wasn't that I was all obsessed with Case Keenum, but it was that I think you took the lesser NFL-ready quarterback. What I said about Wentz, same things, under center, calling his own plays, making his own adjustments at the line of scrimmage. When you look at Goff, bear raid offense, clapper, looking over to the sidelines. There's similarities there. So that is my thing, where sometimes it makes sense, but I'm not just sitting I feel like we went from going, wow, this quarterback class is great at the top, it's one of the best I've seen, to now Yeah, I think really only Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson can start day one. Like, where did that come from? Are you going to start Andy Dalton over Justin Fields? Because you'd be making a mistake.
Wouldn't. I mean, it depends on the mindset. Are you doing that because you really think Andy Dalton is going to be better, or are you doing it to like let Justin Fields warm up to the NFL?
Yeah,
if that's the stance, I'd be
last year without preseason, understandable. This year with preseason, you're gonna have 3 preseason games.
Yeah, they cut it down.
It's unacceptable in my opinion.
Yeah, so I'm excited though to see Fields. I think he's gonna be good.
And also, don't overrate training camp and preseason. Remember the guy that looked like he was turning into Jared Goff on Hard Knocks? That was Justin Herbert.
Yeah,
he was missing throws. They're like, I think we're gonna roll with Tyrod. We won't talk about how Tyrod had that opportunity taken from him by the medical staff, puncturing his lung with a shot.
Yep.
But what I will say is that some guys just perform better with live bullets. It's hard for some to understand that concept.
Well,
but
that's similar to the concept we talked about this past season with the bright lights. Some guys, they step on a field and the pressure's on and they actually rise to the occasion.
I mean, is that the same as practice playing last year? Like how do you quantify that? Because
I really consider most of the games last year as like a scrimmage. Like you don't feel pressure. There's no crowd. Like you've been to football games, right?
Yeah.
There's people say there's no such thing as momentum. Bro, there's momentum. Like when big plays happen, things start swinging and especially when you're there on the field and in the crowd and stadium, you feel it, and you're like, wow, like the momentum is shifting, and the players feel it, and things start happening which ways, and
momentum could be scary too because you can literally see. It's like you can see the car about to break down before the car breaks down.
Oh yeah, you're like, this isn't good. Like,
it's horrifying.
Yeah, but I think really last season, that's why I'm like also looking forward to seeing players like Josh Allen, seeing players like Baker Mayfield, like a lot of these guys who kind of stepped into a spotlight last year, play this year when we're back to like pressure's on, man. Crowds are yelling.
That's and you're the only one that continues to hit home on, like you can continue to hammer that peg.
Yeah.
I wonder if you're right and everyone else is just totally missing that. Because you're the only one I know that continues to bring that up. That's not me knocking you. That's me being like, Adam, I would get that in audio. Well, you have it in audio form here. I would definitely put that on your channel.
Yeah.
Because when one of those guys falls off, you're gonna be like,
Yeah.
It's almost as if I told you guys this before the season started.
It's a real thing, man. Definitely a real thing.
I wonder. Well, I don't know. I was gonna say something about like I wonder if it hurt Jared Goff at all, but at the same time,
I feel like it would help him.
I think Jared Goff is better than people think, and I actually have a theory that McVay got too good too quickly, put a target on his back, put a target on the offense's back, and so he was the prize. Defensive coordinators were like, we're not going to start going after the little guy. We want to take down that big guy. And when you start with Vic Fangio, the Bears game in 2018, and then you look at the Super Bowl with Bill Belichick and, of course, Brian Flores, I think that started everything. But it's not, necessarily what happens to you. It's how you respond to what happens to you. And I will say that Sean McVay, I don't think responded. I don't have an issue with how he responded because he's like, very new in this whole thing. But he responded abruptly to change everything and try to get super creative, uber creative. And I think it actually hurt Jared Goff. The offense got more complicated, as opposed to what I was just talking about, saying offenses are getting more simplistic, got more complicated. And I think, don't get me wrong, I think Jared Goff had, a mentality issue where, his confidence was shot.
Yeah.
But I think that, McVay was asking him to do a lot of things that he just simply couldn't do. So I wonder now, him going to the Lions, you're going to have DeAndre Swift. You're going to have wide receivers like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Good pickup, by the way. Brashad Perriman, Tyrell Williams, and Khalif Raymond as your fourth guy. You're going to have TJ Hawkinson. You have a generational talent left tackle protecting you. That peace of mind. And then the defense is rebuilding, but getting better. You have a good coaching staff. I mean, Anthony Lynn's your offensive coordinator, for Christ's sakes. So, to me, I would not be surprised if Jared Goff has kind of a coming out party, a re-coming out party, I guess, because I would not be surprised if the whole time Goff had that talent, and we saw that. We know what he did in 2017-18, but we overemphasized how much Sean McVay was helping him, that we were too blind to see how Sean McVay, in a sense, also hurt him after their kind of golden age, their quick golden age, but their golden age. And don't get me wrong, a lot of components come. You lose Todd Gurley, that changes really everything because he was still on the team in 2019, but he wasn't Todd Gurley that we knew and loved. So that's kind of my thing. I've been thinking about that, wanted to throw it out there, see your opinion on that. It's not anything that's been proven, but I almost wonder, the whole talking in the headset and everything, there's a lot of quarterbacks that deal with that, but I feel like Sean McVay went overboard in trying to be so different that he actually held his quarterback back. And part of the problem is, like, Jared Goff isn't Peyton Manning. Like, Peyton Manning wouldn't have an issue adjusting like that, but, like, Jared Goff is still a good quarterback. He may not be the smartest quarterback. He may not have the best football IQ, but I almost feel like, in a sense, he got too penalized for what happened because I do think it was a little bit of both.
I think it was definitely a bit of both, but I just don't think he's that talented. Like, I mean, I don't know. I watched a lot of Rams games for obvious reasons, and even in his golden age, the short golden age you mentioned,
I don't know what to call that. It was more
like I watched Ben Roethlisberger deal with an offensive coordinator that's just awful.
Oh, God.
And we would still win games because Ben is just good. He's good enough to do that. And then I would watch, like, Rams games, and I'm like, my God, like, Sean McVay is a genius. He's getting these guys wide open. He's scheming these beautiful plays. All Jared Goff has to really do is, like, deliver the football. And there was just a big gap between what I was seeing at Steelers games on offense versus, like, Rams games. So to me, I definitely lean way more towards, like, Sean McVay was the center of the success for those two.
Oh, I would absolutely agree with you. I think there's some there, though. There's something there.
He's obviously not abysmal. Like, he's not untalented.
Yeah. No, well, I think he might actually do really well with the Lions.
I think he'll definitely do better than he's done in a while, for sure.
Yeah. It's funny because that was your guy coming out of the draft.
Yeah, he was my favorite. I wasn't, like, super high on anyone that draft, but I was like, I was
very high on Carson Wentz.
Well, yeah, I remember that.
And I think with Wentz, I think the Colts did him a disservice. I didn't like the Colts draft. I like that they went out and got Kylan Granson.
They didn't protect him at all.
No,
they
had every opportunity.
To square one. He's going to get murdered.
He has a really good left guard, center, right guard, right tackle. But that left tackle position
left tackle spot is going to kill him.
Like, Anthony Costanzo retired. Like, I love Chris Ballard, but, bro, Anthony Costanzo isn't
And there was
back.
Multiple picks where there was a perfectly good left tackle sitting there, and they were like, nope.
And I don't like Kwity Paye. I don't see it. I don't see the get off. He's slower. I don't see him as this explosive, can't miss first round talent that some people were, asked, basically saying that he was. And then Dio Odenigbo, or I might have been pronouncing that name wrong. I didn't get that pick either. I just felt like you had an opportunity to get Ray Dunes. You had an opportunity to get Leatherwood. Mayfield, Carmen. I mean, Tevin Jenkins fell.
He fell pretty far, too.
He went to the Bears.
I had a feeling, man, people were overhyping him just because he was a great run blocker.
Yeah.
I was like, I don't really see him as a first rounder.
But, I mean, where he fell, it's good for him because, well, think about this. So now you don't have that first year. You don't have the fifth-year option. So he's going to hit free agency quicker. So I'm sure he appreciates that.
Yeah.
But second, the pressure's off. Being a first-round pick, it's different.
Yeah.
But not only being a second-round pick, but then having a franchise quarterback selected in the first round, the pressure's totally off Tevin Jenkins.
Right, well, because it's all on the quarterback. Yeah. He can just kind of chill and be like,
Justin Fields.
I'm just a second-round pick.
And I that's my only concern with the Justin Fields selection is that Ryan Pace and Adam Gase, not Adam Gase, what's his name? Matt Nagy, Ryan Pace, and they rhymed, so I don't know why I said that. Anyway, Matt Nagy and Ryan Pace. My biggest concern is that I feel like this is their last chance and that they're throwing caution to the wind, and they in turn could end up hurting him long term.
I hope not.
I hope not
I think
either.
he's good enough to overcome that, though.
I do too.
But I want to ask you your opinion on the Jaguars taking Travis Etienne right after Naji Harris.
I hated it.
Me too, bro. You know what it felt like to me? It felt like the time the Browns took William Jackson and the Steelers panicked and took Artie Burns right after.
Yeah. Well, I felt that way about the Rams when like Eskridge went off the board at 56,
right,
and they're like,
two
like, you know,
bro, that never works out. I'm telling you right now, it doesn't ever work.
Man, I hated the ETN pick. First off, he was the 5th running back on my board.
Yeah.
As you know, I think he's a good back, but first off, after drafting a running back in the first round, do not come to the podium and say, we look at him as a 3rd down back. Don't ever do that. I don't care if you're kidding. I don't care if you're serious. Don't do it. Second, James Robinson was a gift. You found him in the 7th round, and he balled out.
Yeah.
And now it's like, this is what I don't like. So Trevor Lawrence is here, so we have to go and get a Clemson running back.
How about a tackle?
Like,
how about linemen? There was so many linemen there.
Well, they're higher on their offensive line. I'm not going to fault them for that. They like Cam Robinson. They gave him the franchise tag. You know, I'm not going to fault them for that. But
but the point is though, like Travis Etienne was like my 4th running back.
Well, I just don't think.
And he's not an all down back.
There was one
Definitely
running back
not
I
a
would have
3rd
taken
down
in the
back.
first.
Yeah, Naji Harris.
Yeah.
Right?
And you could argue Javonte Williams at the end of the first, but like Najee's going to come in and instantly. If you're drafting a running back in the first round, you want production immediately. You're not getting a guy to develop. You're not getting a guy who can be helpful long term. You're getting a guy in the first round to help you tomorrow.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that I can't hate the Steelers pick. I actually like it because you're getting Naji Harris, who can come in. Basically, you're injecting him in the offense. Matt Canada is going to have him, and he's going to have Anthony McFarland. I really like that tandem.
Me too.
But with Etienne, it just is so stupid because you have James Robinson. It's like,
it didn't make any sense.
But it's the same organization that, you know, drafted Gardner Minshew in the 6th round. They apparently hit home on the day 3 picks, and then they don't care. They always want to replace those guys. It's mind-boggling.
Yeah, that pick really blew me away. I was like, dude, he is not. And I was watching tape. I went and watched a lot of tape on these guys, like after the draft again, just to kind of dive in deeper because I really had like a base level of everyone. And Travis Etienne, I watched some of his tape again. It's just not it, dude. He's a weapon. He's a weapon, and he can do a lot of things for you. But like as a every down back, like hand it off to him 30 times a game, it's not going to be good.
I just don't see. Well, I think they're going to use him as a weapon.
Right, but
also
don't draft him at 25.
Yeah,
if you're doing
you
that.
know, I think he would have been there in the 2nd round.
I think he definitely could have been there in the 2nd round.
And again, one of those things I always say. So what, he gets picked in the 1st?
There's no way he was going. No one else.
Is he better than Javonte Williams? No, I don't think so.
No.
I don't think he's better than Javonte Williams right now.
Probably not. No.
So, yeah, didn't like the pick. I also felt like Kenneth Gainwell would have given you everything that you're looking for in ETN, and he went the 5th.
Yeah, it just didn't make sense to me. I was like, okay.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because that was a pick I was just like, it just. I know Alexis was like, "Yay!" Like the Clemson people are together, but I'm like, "Nah, this is they shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
What do you think about the Giants? They trade down and like keep in mind, like it's a meme. Like this dude, Dave Gettleman, never trades down. They trade down, and with the Bears, they take 20th and they draft Kadarius Toney. I like Kadarius Toney.
How many receivers do they have? Like,
well, I mean, if you look, they have. Galladay, they have Sterling Shepard, they have Darius Slayton. Now they're adding Kadarius Toney.
That's such a crazy.
They signed John Ross. They have Dante Pettis.
Dude, and we talked about this
Evan
before
Ingram,
the draft.
Kyle Rudolph.
The Giants have no excuses.
No. You know who has no excuse?
Well, the quarterback, Daniel Jones, obviously.
Daniel Jones, and I like this though because look at like Denver. You know, it's like everyone was like saying, get rid of Drew Lock. They don't want to wait for him to actually develop. They don't look at like what has happened. I like what they're doing with Daniel Jones.
No, I know. Give him everything he needs to succeed, and if he doesn't, okay.
If he doesn't succeed this year, I feel like if he's the guy or not, because he has so many weapons.
Their team,
unless there's some
loaded.
Crazy, everybody gets hurt. It's like an injury plague.
Right. But assuming
you should know what you have in him.
It's a normal season. Yeah, you have a good enough defense. You have amazing weapons. I mean,
Saquon Barkley's like having another weapon because you didn't have him for like 15 games last year.
But kudos to the Giants for like doing the right thing and like filling it up with talent for him.
And they Azeez Ojulari falling into their lap in the second round.
They
really did a nice job. Patrick Graham's defense. Keep in mind, they went out, they added Adoree Jackson. Like
their defense,
I really like what they did. I wasn't okay, so I was a little surprised, but I wasn't entirely shocked that Washington didn't draft a quarterback. I've been saying it. I think they really do like Fitzpatrick for this year. I know it's kind of weird. Like they didn't go out and they didn't get a first round talent, but I still like what they're doing. And the fact they got Jamin Davis, some people were saying it was a reach. I was on here talking about him.
Yeah.
I don't think it's a reach because they see a guy that is so different than any linebacker that they've had in the last, say, 5 years. He's going to be a game changer. And that defense already looks like one of the best we've talked about for a while.
Yep.
They go out, they add Will Jackson to the back end, and then they got Curtis Samuel on the offensive side. Yep. I really like what Washington did. And so I think Washington, the Giants, I thought the Eagles got better. I don't love the Eagles, but I do like their draft for the most part.
And the Cowboys are getting Dak back.
Well, the Cowboys are another team that I want to discuss. So they go out and they did a lot because they got a bunch of guys that would fit Dan Quinn's scheme. And for those of you that forgot, Dan Quinn was he wasn't the orchestrator of the Legion of Boom, but I think he's the one that refined it to a level where they're like, okay, that's the guy. Mm-hmm. Like that's the man. And I will say this. His ability, he's going to use Keanu Neal very well, I think. They went out and they got that Nashawn Wright guy that's like 6'3". They're going to be using him. Just overall, I did really like what Dallas did. Another team I really liked what they did. When you're going through and you're like, all these teams, the Browns, man. The Browns. Because
I know
they took the best player available.
Greg Newsome they got Jeremiah Owusu-Koramoah.
I mean,
those are two big names right there.
I'm
not looking forward to it.
They added Greg Newsome to a secondary that has John Johnson, Troy Hill.
Yep.
They added the guy they got from Ohio State, Denzel Ward. Greedy Williams.
Yep.
I mean, that back end, Sheldrick Redwine, stacked.
Grant Delpit if he pans out.
Yeah, Grant Delpit. And then they go
All
out.
you need is like one or two of those guys to blossom, and your defense is,
Then they get JOK to go with Taki and Jacob Phillips.
Yeah, man.
They drafted? Oh no, I'm thinking of the Bengals because the Bengals got Carmen. What do you think about that? I like Carmen, but I also feel like they needed more of a guy that could. Like Carmen's a little bit of a project.
I feel like they let down Joe Burrow again.
Well, Burrow, from everything that we were told, Burrow sounds like he wanted Chase. That's kind of on him.
I guess, but I don't know.
But also, is it really on him? Because as a team, you kind of have to make the tough decision. Be like, you know what, we love you, but you need to have an offensive line. I think they'll regret passing on Sewell for the next 10 years.
Yeah.
Because I think Chase is going to be a Pro Bowl talent. I think Sewell is going to be an all-pro talent. And I think Sewell, this is, again, the flashiness. Chase will win you fantasy leagues. Sewell will not. But when you're talking about the NFL, Sewell, having him at left tackle
AFC North
is
football,
just,
man. He would have been great in that division.
The first thing he said, I can't wait to play against Aaron Donald.
Yeah.
Because he knows, like, as soon as he went to the Lions, he's like, oh, awesome, the Rams are on our schedule. I can't wait to play against Aaron. I want that guy. That's the guy that wants to go against the best.
Yeah, dude.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's, I thought the Raiders had some killer picks. They reached on Leatherwood. But
yeah,
I think
definitely.
Leatherwood is good. I just think they could have gotten him probably in the second round.
Is where
they could have gotten Ray Dunes. But Leatherwood's good. I think he'll have a good career. But getting Trayvon Merrick in the second, I think, was huge. And then getting my guy Devon Diablo, I believe in the third or fourth round, loved it. Because now you're adding all these crazy pieces to your defense. You brought back Carl Joseph, which was a shock to me. I did not expect that. I know you were a little upset by that. But you have him. Jonathan Abram can hit anybody very, very hard. He does a good job of that.
He's a maniac.
Yeah, dude just wants to kill people. Trayvon Merrick is your do-it-all guy. Now you get 6'3" Divine Diablo, who compares very similarly to Cam Chancellor, which is why I thought the Cowboys might get him, because, with Dan Quinn. And then they have Corey Littleton, and they have Nick Kwiatkowski. I don't know if Diablo is going to play linebacker exclusively, safety, or both. I would use him at both. I think he has that, that versatility, and I was really impressed with what they were able to do there. I didn't love the entire draft, but those two picks, those two guys, I think are going to make a huge difference in that secondary.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely, man.
Yeah. And then I'm trying to think of another team. I think the 49ers going out and getting my guy Trey Sermon to pair with Trey Lance. You have Raheem Mostert, who, let's be honest here, Raheem Mostert's awesome, but he can't stay healthy. So now you go out, you get Trey Sermon, and they also got Elijah Mitchell at the end.
Yep.
I mean, they're doing it all over again.
They're setting themselves up nicely. I'm very excited to see Trey Lance with them.
He's going to be good.
Yeah.
I keep trying, because Ram fans keep, DMing me, and they're like, tell me, were you all just saying that about Trey Lance just to hype him up?
He's going to be probably very good.
I'm like, he's legit.
He's got it all.
Now, the weird thing is, people were surprised because in my top 30 picks video, I didn't include that.
You didn't include him?
I didn't. The reason is because, while I think he was a great pick in a sense, I felt like the Niners were way too impatient to just trade up before the draft and sit there at 3. Because when you look at what they could have done, I had Fields as number 2 on my board, and the Bears just had to move up from 20 to 11. And they didn't have to give up anywhere near as much. Felt like that was a better pick. That was my number 2 pick. Sewell was the best pick in the draft. He falls to you at 7. Sewell in any other draft is going top 5 guaranteed. You go back to the Eric Fisher draft with Luke Jokel and all those guys. He's going number 1. He's probably going number 1 the year the Rams traded up for Goff. To be honest with you, because I think he's so good that a team wouldn't have traded out.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. But yeah, I thought he was a great pick. There were so many really good picks. The Steelers had a good draft, I thought. There were some guys I was Trey Norwood. You have memes galore about Trey Norwood.
Yeah, not hot on him, but whatever. People seem to like him. I don't know.
But yeah, I thought they drafted well. The Panthers getting my guy, Terrace Marshall Jr. That was painful because the Rams passed on him for Tutu Atwell. But
so we do have I have to stop soon.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, guys, sorry. I have other commitments after this, so it's a shorter show. But I want you to sign off on the show by giving us your breakdown of Tutu Atwell. How do you feel?
All right.
Because when it first happened,
I was furious because of who they passed on, right? Yeah. I don't think Tutu's a bad player.
Right.
I never did.
Yeah.
And there's actually tweets that people were bringing up bro, I saw you in January saying you loved this guy, and now you don't like him? And I'm like, hear me out. Tutu Atwell was one of the only receivers I had watched to that point.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, I like this guy. And then when I watched 20, 30, 40 receivers after, he fell.
Right.
On my board, naturally.
Where did you have him on the board at the end?
He was in a 6th round grade.
Oh, boy.
But here's the thing. What have I always said about my grades? It's about the arsenal that they're bringing in. So what are you bringing into the league? Tutu Atwell, I don't care about size. I care about Tutu Atwell's size. He needs to bulk up because he's 149 pounds soaking wet. Yeah.
He's 100. That's what he weighed in
at the pro day.
That's bad. Yeah.
So
got to bulk up.
I also think he can put on weight to add to his frame.
Yeah,
I don't think it's going to be a bad thing at all. But I do think that the fit is questionable. Not because
I think it's good.
I think he absolutely fits Sean McVay's scheme. But in this time, to draft a guy as your 5th receiver when you don't have a center, they could move Corbett at center, or they could roll with Brian Allen.
Was Creed Humphrey there?
He was. So they passed on Creed Humphrey. They passed on Terrace Marshall. They passed on Baron Browning and Jabril Cox. They passed on Baron Browning twice. We won't even get into that. But they passed on a lot of talent.
Yeah.
And I think it came back to bite them in a sense because there wasn't – I think no one will say this. No one will admit this. I don't think they took an offensive lineman because literally they ran out of time. And I kept saying this. This is a big offensive line class. You have a lot of talent. It's very depth-filled. But here's the problem. It's until like round 4. And then after round 4, it's like I'm not picking offensive linemen. And I feel like the Rams kind of fell into that, you know?
Yeah.
So Tutu Atwell is a guy, slow plays his route. He's not going to blow you off the line of scrimmage. That's not his game because he can do it. He's physically imposing in a sense that he's just such an athlete. He can blow by you in a second. But this is part of the method to Tutu's madness is that he doesn't want to blow you off the line of scrimmage and create attention. He wants to basically blend in and then at the top of his route stem really break off. And I noticed that. And another thing I noticed is his 2019 season was monstrous. And Malik Cunningham, quarterback at Louisville, had a really good year. Mm-hmm. And 2020, he played 9 games, opted out the rest of the year because he got hurt. And Malik Cunningham was god-awful. He wasn't anything like he was in 2019. So he struggled from poor quarterback play in 2020. And this is somebody that I think actually will surprise you in his play strength. Because while he weighed in at up to 149 pounds, I watched him run over people at times. So that was a little surprising. Wasn't expecting that.
How tall is he?
5'8", 5'9".
Yeah. Maybe.
It's just weird when you have Van Jefferson, Robert Woods, Cooper Kupp, Deshaun Jackson to be like, we drafted a wide receiver 5 today.
Maybe he's just going to be their deep threat and like tool guy, like a Tyreek Hill.
And
that's probably what they envision, right?
The thing that I notice is that everyone's calling him a gadget guy. I was calling him a gadget guy because that's how I feel like they'll use him. But he's actually a really good route runner. Sharp breaks, doesn't round off his routes, sells it well, I think he has great hip flexion, or rather ankle flexion. And the point of that, the reason I'm bringing that up is because that's going to, if you don't have good ankle flexion, you can't move up the field. Guys that are good at running after the catch don't just catch the ball and run. They put themselves in possession before the catch is made. And now, with their ankle pointed the right way, they can move up field in a way that now they didn't really sacrifice much explosion, and they can just move up field and get by guys that do have to sacrifice the explosion to have to tackle them. Yeah. So,
well, he's definitely athletically talented.
Scouts said he was they call him an angle eliminator.
Did he run at the pro day, or was he injured?
Yeah, he ran like a 4.32. Yeah. They said he's really a 4.27, 40 type of guy.
I mean, 4.32 is amazing. That's rare.
So I think, well, and another thing is really, I mean, the jet motion receiver is becoming its own position in this league. It's so necessary.
Popular, yeah.
So, and I'm actually excited to see on your team because obviously Finkner didn't use it.
No.
But
he did it like twice in the beginning
Canada's going to do it, and I don't know who he's going to do it with because I think your guys are interchangeable. I think they can all play every position because, Deontay Johnson plays bigger than he is. Chase Claypool knows how big he is.
Right.
And the thing is, he doesn't play like just a big guy. He like moves like a gazelle.
Yeah.
And then you have Juju Smith-Schuster, who he may be 6'1", but he plays like he's 6'5".
Yeah.
He's a freak. He's going to punch you in the mouth. Like he'll block so you have guys that are, and then of course James Washington, kind of like the guy that's always left out. I watched him at the Senior Bowl; he killed it.
He's just a guy. Yeah, I mean, James Washington's great for what he is, honestly.
Really like but they can use all those guys that way, just like the Rams. They can really use Woods, Kupp, Jefferson. And I mean, I think the interesting pick here is Jacob Harris. Because Harris is not only just kind of like a project in a sense, because he's 6'5", 219, ran a 4.3. Like, those are kind of Chase Claypool-esque looking numbers. Mm-hmm. But the thing I find so interesting is while you're waiting for him to develop, keep this in mind, he was number 1 on their special teams board.
Right.
So this is somebody that's going to be able to stick on the roster, give you an option as a special teamer, and then when it comes together, and just saying, like, Stafford didn't have, like, a favorite target. Like, everyone's like, well, Marvin Jones, well, he had Kenny Golladay. The only favorite target Stafford's ever had was Calvin Johnson.
Right.
But I also feel like, you know, there needs to be a designated red zone threat. And for me, I think Jacob Harris could be that. So I'm excited for that. They also got another receiver later on in Ben Skoranek from Notre Dame. Surprising how well he looked. Honestly, went back to watch his film. 6'3", 211, plays above the rim. So they got a lot of guys. I think their draft, honestly, would have been better had they kept Goff, because I don't think that they would have put such a emphasis on going out and getting these guys for Stafford. I think they were just having fun, and they're like imagining all these different fits and getting guys that can take the top off of defenses and go up and high point the football.
Yep.
Whereas with Goff, I don't think they make a pick like Tutu Atwell. I know I'm not the only one that said that. I think they probably would have had a better draft, but hey, I'll take Stafford in a lesser draft than Goff and a better draft.
There you go.
So
well said, man. All right, I think that's it for today, unfortunately. Again, I got to bounce a little early. Anything else you want to sign off with or what?
Well, I appreciate you guys that, you know, came into this. I know we had to start a little bit late, but, you know, glad we were able to get on here. And
get ready, though. I mean, in the next few months, we are going to be changing the time of this to Sundays prior to game day, so that'll be fun. And we're going to really pick it up and be a lot more consistent. It's hard to stay consistent when there's just not a lot happening.
Yeah, no, I know. But I think this is a lot of fun, obviously. Appreciate you guys that followed us last weekend. That was a blast this weekend. Appreciate you guys. But we'll be back next weekend, and we're going to talk more in depth on the draft. I think we could go more to it, because I think we could have talked for probably 4 hours if you didn't have to leave. But that's going to do it for us. You guys can follow me at JkBogen DTSN. You can follow Adam over at Renegade Adam. You can go to his channel and hit that subscribe button, Adam Steele. You can go to my channel, Jake Ellenbogen, hit that subscribe button. But that's going to do it. Hope you guys enjoyed. You guys take care, and we'll be back next week. Later, guys.